Hi, everybody. How are you doing? It is Thursday at 2:51 p.m. on September 15th, 2022. The price of Bitcoin is $19,811. The price of Ethereum post-merge is $1,499. We have not seen a pump in Ethereum or Bitcoin. They've both gone down slightly since the merge. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Everybody's all talking about the merge. It finally happened. And it appears to have gone off without any technical hitch. That shouldn't come off as too much of a surprise. They've tested this over and over ad nauseum. My real question was whether this would work in an adversarial environment. Not that it would work technically, but that it would work safely for the users and that they wouldn't get wrecked by scammers. That's yet to be seen, though I haven't seen any reports of that. So maybe I was just wrong about that. I thought it would be a very, shall we say, chaotic environment. So far, doesn't appear to be the case. I am still not real amped about the merge, though, and let's talk about why. I know I've talked about this before, but I'm going to talk about it again, and I am not done talking about it. What this does, effectively, is strengthen the case for Bitcoin maximalism. Crazy to think that, because the maximalists are already pretty darn hard line, and this just makes the argument clearer for anyone who cares to really look at it with clear eyes. Relative to other cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin's simplicity is what? Is it one of its greatest strengths, or is it one of its weaknesses? A lot of the criticisms of Bitcoin come when people say, well, it's just money. It just sits there. It doesn't do anything. They don't even say it's just money, right? Because if they acknowledge that it was money, then they would have to contend with the fact that money is powerful. The very concept of money executed properly, is really impactful and powerful. But that's not what they say. They don't say it's just money. They say it doesn't do anything, right? It's just sitting there. You just have it in your wallet. It doesn't do anything. A battery doesn't do anything until you plug it in and start to use it on something. A battery is just a storage vehicle. That's what money is. Money is a storage vehicle. It's a way to save for a rainy day, a way to prepare, to store your energy and resources and time and have access to those things from other people, right? Money is a battery for human potential. And you can get that potential from other people with money. You can hire them for their brains, for their brawn, for their resources. Money is important. Money is powerful. Money is not supposed to do a whole bunch of things. Have you ever heard of a Swiss Army battery? That's not a thing. Money is supposed to do one thing. Arguably, it's supposed to do two. Arguably, money is a vehicle for money transfer, i.e. currency, and money storage, right? Value storage and value movement. So currency and money. We've talked about that before, the subtle but important difference. It's moving value across time or across space, whether you're talking about currency or money. Money saves it across time, currency moves it across space. Okay. Bitcoin doesn't do anything. It's money. And it's the soundest money on earth now, and it's pretty inarguable at this point. Where the Ethereum merge is wrong, I think, in a variety of ways, but one major thing that I don't think is really being addressed is, does this move make Ethereum more or less censorable? And by censorable, I mean politically. Does this allow powerful institutions, i.e. governments, or pseudo-governments, or government-related, government-associated, government-adjacent entities to step in when they feel like their interests aren't being served, and to censor the transactions and activity on the Ethereum network? Is it more or less that after the merge? I think anybody who's being honest with themselves will say that it is more censorable. It is more centralized. For you to be an ETH staker, you have to have a certain amount of ETH, and it's not an insignificant sum. It measures in the tens of thousands of dollars. So most people are probably not going to do this. It's also technically challenging. Most people are going to delegate their ETH to somebody else, a third party, to stake it for them. And then they will share in the profits. But not your keys, not your coins, my friend. If there's anything that the last 10 months have taught us, 6 months, it's that if you don't have your keys, if you're trusting somebody else to take care of it for you, you are in a precarious position. And the actual ownership of your keys is questionable at all. If they're not in your possession, if they're not in your control directly, is it even your money? Or are you just, I don't know, renting? Are you renting your money? ETH is more censorable post-merge than it was before. And this censorability issue This was the whole idea. This is why Satoshi Nakamoto invented the category of cryptocurrency. I think most Ethereums have either forgotten that or have never known it. Certainly, Vitalik Buterin has seemed to forget that. He seems to have lost his way ideologically, philosophically. And hey, you know what? Motivated cognition, right? He makes a lot of money to not remember those lessons. Really hard to argue against a man's income when that's what he relies on for his income, for his net worth. Vitalik Buterin makes a lot of money to make the argument that Bitcoin or that Ethereum is ultrasound money. Justin Drake too, and the guys at the Bankless podcast. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. When people talk about ETH as ultrasound money, to me it rings so strongly of motivated cognition, of bias in that direction, because they're going to make a lot of money. They're hyping themselves into it. They're talking themselves into it. Yeah, it's ultrasound money. Oh, I'm going to get so rich. I don't think that's true. I don't think it is ultrasound money. That said, money is an intersubjective reality, largely, and even though it really has to have certain qualities to be sound money, it could be unsound money, right? Unsound money has worked for decades. I mean, it's been in wide use for decades. People have made fortunes off of unsound money. Here's a question. At the risk of asking a dumb question, what's the difference between stake and stock? Does this change anything, or is it a reversion to the existing financial system, TradFi, stock markets? Yeah, it runs 24/7. You can execute it and have it completed and settled right on the blockchain right away in relatively short order. But functionally, is it any different than stock in a company? That's a real question. If you have a response to that, yay or nay, and you have an explanation, please let me know. I'm not pretending that I have a perfect 100% grasp on stake, proof of stake. But to me, it just looks like stock. Right? If you think there's nothing wrong with our existing financial system, then I guess this is good. From Jeff Booth, author of The Price of Tomorrow, about the value of deflationary currency, we will encourage exponential debt growth by manipulating currency, interest rates, and destroying the value of savings, and then crush those people, businesses, and nations. As we pivot the other way, we will repeat this with ever greater frequency. Signed, central banks. If you're okay with centralizers, then the Ethereum merge, I guess, is fine. From Bitcoin Magazine, just in, another Bitcoin futures ETF will launch in the US. When? Spot. There are a lot of political games going on behind the scenes. There's a reason that Gary Gensler has not approved a spot Bitcoin ETF. I don't know exactly what those games are, but it is clearly a political hangup. They're trying to line up some pieces before they make that possible, where other countries have not had the same kind of hangup. Spot Bitcoin ETFs exists on some other markets. Bitcoin Lightning enables infinite money velocity without debt for the first time in history. Without debt is interesting. Another word for fiat money is debt money. And maybe not fiat per se, but rather central banking money. Fractional reserve money. Money that's created in the economy through fractional reserve banking. That money that is created is actually debt. Your asset is somebody else's debt. But that's not true with Bitcoin. It's your asset. It's nobody else's liability. That's rare. That's actually important. And it's, again, one of these subtle distinctions that takes a while to wrap your head around. I'm still wrapping my head around it because we have been swimming in this central banking fiat world for so long that I don't think we fully grasp the alternatives. We are fish who no longer recognize the nature of the water we swim in. Two fish swim past each other. One of them says, "Hey man, how's the water?" And the fish answering says, "What's water?" I'm sure I'm messing up the story, but you take my meaning. Fish don't recognize the water they live in. It's what they live in. They've never questioned it. It's what they've always known. We are that with central banking, with fractional reserve banking, with fiat money. And frankly, it has only been Bitcoin that has ever made me, or so far as I've witnessed, anybody else question those things. What is money? Alex Gladstein from the Human Rights Foundation, the chief strategy officer, says, post-merge, the anti-Bitcoin narrative in the media, policy, finance, tech establishment will intensify. BTC is wasteful. Proof of work is bad for the planet. Bitcoiners are dumb and primitive. But separating money from state remains critical for humanity. Fade the noise, follow the signal. And he's right, and he should know. Alex Gladstein works with refugees. He works with oppressed people around the country. He is a direct and open opponent of authoritarianism in the most straightforward fashion. That's what the Human Rights Foundation does, is it fights authoritarianism. It fights dictatorships. And he has latched onto the idea of Bitcoin because after simmering on it for a while and thinking about the concepts at play, he realized this is a solution. This is an answer to so much of the oppressive tools, so much of the oppressive environment that people face. A lot of it happens through the money and control of money. Separating money from state is a move toward freedom for individuals. Would you rather have 10 Bitcoin or a house? This is why they think we're crazy. I already have a house. I'll take 10 more Bitcoin. Thanks. Again, from Jeff Booth, our own reality is created by our thoughts, and that becomes ideas, and that turn into actions, that turn into things and concepts that then reflect back to us. Initially, you're a product of your environment. Ultimately, your environment is a product of you, to say that another way. Give your time and energy to the world and to the world you want to see, and you just might be amazed by what comes back to you. This idea of Bitcoin citadels that you have probably heard before, it's a funny idea and one that probably started as a joke. I do not think it will end as a joke. I think there will be literal Bitcoin citadels a la Balaji Srinivasan's network states. Because the end goal of the network state is to get off the network and get into real life, onto physical real estate, IRL. I think Bitcoin citadels are a thing that will actually happen in meat space. I don't know when, I don't know where, we might be years out, but I think that's going to happen. After studying Bitcoin for 1 hour, Bitcoin is a cryptocurrency. For 10 hours, the government will stop it. 100 hours, Bitcoin is like digital gold. 1,000 hours, Bitcoin is not crypto. 10,000 hours, Bitcoin is an unstoppable force which frees humanity from control of the state. That's about where I am. I've been in this for a long time, and that's kind of where I'm landing. And it's not like I got there right away. Even if somebody explained it to me, which they did years ago, it's taken me a while to get to the point where I can see and I understand all of the things that are entailed there. So many of the pieces in place have made this unstoppable sound money. Shopify's competitor BigCommerce is integrating Bitcoin into payments. That's great. They probably won't keep it unless people actually use it. So actually go out and use some Bitcoin if you can. Over the Lightning Network, that's probably what they're implementing. I need to make a video where I go on a shopping spree and I just use Lightning Network to show how easy it is. That's a video I need to make very soon. From Kaye BTC, we've won. Bitcoin is the only real cryptocurrency left. The logic here being that proof of stake is, like I said, just stock. It's just stock, like a stock market stock. It's not cryptocurrency anymore. It's something else. Electronic money, sure, but in the same way that like Venmo and Robinhood are electronic money. Samson Mao tweeting this video of Vitalik Buterin. Let's hear what Vitalik has to say.
Work is based on the laws of physics, and so you sort of have to work with the world as it is, right? You have to work with, electricity as it is, hardware as it is, what computers are as it is. Whereas because proof of stake is virtualized in this way, it's basically letting us create a simulated universe that has its own laws of physics. And that just gives...
He says that Bitcoin has to abide by the laws of physics, where proof of stake lets us make up our own laws of physics. Do they not see the problem with that? The rules can be whatever we want them to be. Money is whatever we imagine it is. This is how Ethereans think. And Bitcoiners are so fundamentally different from that. Bitcoiners are religious in their sense of eternal truths, digging down and asking what the brass tacks, hard, concrete realities are. This is one of those cultural differences between the two camps, and I definitely am more in the Bitcoin camp on this one. The Bitcoiners will try to dig down and find out what money is. Ethereans say money is whatever we want it to be. We get to make up our own rules. the decentralization of Bitcoin mining as displayed in this map. What's interesting to me here is look at China. This is a recent map. This is now. I thought China banned Bitcoin mining, yet there they are, a ton of miners in China. Data is from this article in Nature. And if you search the word China, we notice that the recent change in regulatory policy towards Bitcoin mining in some jurisdictions, e.g. China, has intrigued a new round of spatial fluctuations and migration. Bitcoin mining activity is in the process of moving to achieve new spatial equilibrium. So no matter what happens in the ecosystem, the Bitcoin miners just move. They find equilibrium. They go to wherever the cheapest electricity is. And usually that's stranded energy. Usually that's energy that's not being used for anything else. Flared gas. Dennis Porter says Ethereum has officially merged and moved toward proof of stake, which means it will never be able to go carbon negative. Now, this is an interesting take. Bitcoin will achieve carbon negative status by the end of 2024. How is that exactly, Dennis? I believe the argument is that Bitcoin is creating energy without emissions by going into renewables or capturing flared gas that otherwise would have been a carbon positive footprint. So wasted energy and capturing carbon gas, methane or natural gas that's being flared. Lynn Alden, the great Lynn Alden. Bitcoin now has 94% of the market cap of proof of work coins. It's basically the last man standing. Bitcoin stands alone at this point. There are, I suppose, others. I think Raven coin is a proof of work coin. Monero is a proof of work coin. But their market cap is so small compared to Bitcoin, it's really the only one that matters at this point. This is what I mean by the case for Bitcoin maximalism has only strengthened. Every time you use Ethereum, you are giving ETH to those that hold the most ETH. Every time you use a Bitcoin, you're giving BTC to those that put in the most work. This must be understood. That's true. Proof of work. You have to do the work. And in many cases, you have to produce the energy to do that. Capture it from places that it wouldn't have otherwise been used. Adam Back's opinion on this matters because Adam is cited in the Bitcoin white paper. And I believe Hashcash was a precursor to proof of work. Did Adam invent proof of work? I need to look that up. Hard money inherently requires an unavoidable production cost. Proof of work is fundamental. It is. It's fundamental to Bitcoin. It's fundamental to cryptocurrency as it was designed initially. Changing it to something else is such a reversion to what we had before. You can't create money ex nihilo because then it's just a political action. And the powerful will take action to create more value for themselves, to capture more value for themselves, as we've seen central banks do. The Ethereum merge just moves it much closer to that. The powerful will get more powerful. They'll be able to change the rules when they want. As Vitalik said, we get to make up our own physics. They have changed the rules many times. They've rolled back the blockchain. That's how that's how Ethereum Classic was created. There was a big hullabaloo about a hack that happened, and they rolled back all of the transactions to before that hack and then fixed the problem. Whew. If the politically enabled can change the rules when they feel like it, you do not have a free system. $500 million in financing of vented methane BTC mining would make the entire Bitcoin network carbon negative, remove 36 million tons of CO2 per year, is equal to planting 2.5 billion trees, and further decentralizes the Bitcoin network and ends fundamental FUD. Daniel Batten is such a great one to follow. I really like him. And I feel like this is a narrative and a reality that we need to lean into so hard. Because now with Ethereum switched over to proof of stake and Bitcoin the last man standing in proof of work, this is what they're going to come after. I've been saying this for months, you guys. If you've been watching, you know that. This is the hill that they're going to attack. And we've got to dig in our heels and prove beyond doubt, not just with rhetoric, but with real investment, real building, that this is positive for the environment. This is eco-friendly. Bitcoin helps. It helps the grid. It helps the monetary system. It helps Mother Earth. We can make that argument. We can build that reality. Okay, that's what I got today. More and more interesting things coming, diversified away from cryptocurrency. But, let me know what you want to talk about. We'll hit it in a future episode. Thanks, team.